I go to Dunkin' Donuts, and right there in front of the store, in the front cover of the New York Post, is my subpoena and Howard Stern's face. Chauncey is bringing down Howard Stern. Howard Stern's going to jail. Thanks, Chauncey, in big letters. And within an hour, I have every news truck in the country in front of my house with satellite dishes. Howard was so mad by that and so angry. He did a whole morning on it and then demanded Fox News give him an hour the next day to be on the air on the same show to trash me. Howard, I'm Chauncey from a free giveaway Penny Saver magazine. Howard went on Neil Cavuto for an hour the very next day to call me the Beetlejuice of journalism.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Here's the Pitch. And you'll remember this man. He was on the show and then he wasn't. He just went away. It's Chaunce Hayden. Hello, Chaunce.
Yeah, well, I didn't just go away. If you remember Big Pussy in Sopranos, I was kind of thrown off the side of the boat.
Now, I have some fun things. I didn't even write this one down, but it just reminded me when you talked about being a villain. When I guess you interviewed Baba Booey at some point in the mid-2000s, and you quoted him as saying he cheats on his wife. And you had the audio, and Baba Booey goes, he doesn't understand. I was kidding. And you come back and you're like, it's on the tape. I quoted him, and it was clearly he was joking. But this is where I understand the villain thing, because that was quite the dick move.
This is what Gary said.
But hilarious, I will tell you, because
this is what Gary said, and he said it, I think, during that segment. He goes, "This fucking guy, he has this cherub face. He's so personable and so friendly that you forget he's slicing your throat while he's talking to you and you don't even know it's coming because he seems like such a nice guy." So and it's kind of true. You know, I didn't come across as a guy looking to nail you. I came across as your best friend. And then I was slicing you up without you knowing it. And then I would take that soundbite. And I knew Stern. At that point, I knew Stern well enough. I knew, and this was a big part of it, I knew what he was looking for. I knew the soundbite he was looking for. And that's why I got on so much. I knew exactly. I was basically a producer. I was a producer. I was trying to get something from Gary or something from anyone that I knew I could give Howard, and Howard blow his stack. I got a girl once, a girl from Son of the Beach, who Howard dated quietly, brought her up to his apartment and did a whole night out with this girl. And I got this girl to do an interview with me explaining the process of dating Howard, the requirements, what you have to do, the protocol, the vetting that goes into that. And then Howard's reading this and going, I can't believe this. I mean, she told me the inside of Howard's bedroom, what it looks like, and I have it all on tape. And Howard's reading this on the air, and Robin's going, oh my God. So I was, not to toot my own horn, but I was brilliant at that kind of content.
Well, the Baba Booey thing, though, you clearly knew he wasn't saying he was cheating, but you were trying to pin it. No, he said it. It was funny. You also got in a lot of trouble for your punctuation, your grammar, and your writing, right? Howard would read stuff.
Terrible, and I still am.
You're a writer.
I don't know where to. I can't spell. I have dyslexia. I can't spell. I can't. I have terrible grammar. I don't know the difference between then and then. I still don't. And I've been a writer for 30 years. And Howard would tear me apart. He would love it. But here's the thing. This is part of being on a Stern show. He finds your weakness. He finds your Achilles heel. And he exploits it for all it's worth and makes it funny. Now, you have a choice at that point. You can get angry, hang up, and never talk to him again and say the guy's a jerk. Or, as I did, and as many others did, you can hop on that boat. You might want to you can call it a whack packer. I don't know if I ever qualified for a whack pack. I don't give myself that much credit. I don't think I was interesting enough to be a whack packer. But he certainly called me out on every fault I ever had in my life. And I used it to my advantage. I knew I had to do, that was the cost. That was the payoff. If I wanted to get a name and have reach out to 25 million people and sell my interviews to big magazines because of my name, and people know who I am, then you have, it's going to cost you. And I paid that price 100 times over.
When you then applied for John's job, and were you really applying? Was that a for real thing? Because we know what Sal and Richard both got it. Yeah. And some of the things you did just got trashed by Howard and the fans. Like it was. It
wasn't a real thing. Richard Christie was hired before that show, before they even held the contest. He had already been hired by Stern. He knew he was coming to work for Stern. He didn't have to even appear on Get John's Job. But it really wasn't replacing John, by the way. It really wasn't. You can't replace Stuttering John. You know, it's like replacing Jackie. Artie never replaced Jackie. Artie just became Artie. You can't replace these characters. They're not replaceable. They're iconic in the Stern world. So I knew that going in. But I wanted to prove to Howard, and I think to myself, that I could do this. That even if it was just for a week, even if I never had the opportunity again, that for myself, it's almost like always want to be a professional baseball player, right? And you just wanted that one at bat, that one time that you go to the plate and take one swing, just to do it. And for me, that's what it was like. I wanted to get into that dugout for a week and see if I could do it. And I gave it all. I did. That last show when I broke down and cried, that was real. That was real. I cried like a 5-year-old. I did. I broke down. Lack of, and a lot of people on that show have had those moments and I understand why. You're going without sleep. You're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. You have to realize what I went through that week. I did 3, what I think are classic Stern moments. I did the Harlem Ho Beauty Pageant, where I went to Harlem, New York, in my SUV. My wife at the time was out of town. So I brought 7 hookers and their pimp into my SUV and took them back to my house in New Jersey in a middle-class white picket fence community. And because I knew I was going to get these Harlem prostitutes on the Stern show at 6 in the morning. So they slept over. They slept in my house, and they weren't the kind of prostitutes that you would jerk off to. They had open sores with blood pus coming out of it. They had hair coming out of their faces. They were disgusting. They were the most disgusting looking things I've ever seen in my life. And they're all in my basement where I had a bar and a pool table. And I said, just stay down here. I provided them with liquor, and I locked them down there for the night. And I said, I'll come and get you at 4:30 in the morning. And I went to bed. And I get up the next morning, they're all naked, there's empty bottles everywhere. I got them together, and I got them to walk out of my house into my car. The sprinklers are going on in the neighborhood. The paper boys throwing a newspaper. I have these prostitutes and their pimp going out to my car for the Stern show. What I didn't know is that during the night, they robbed my wife's entire shoe collection. They stole over $10,000 worth of shoes. And I didn't know it until my wife got back and said, Chauncey, so who was here while I was gone? I said, nobody. She goes, it's interesting. I'm like, why? What's wrong? She goes, all my shoes are gone. And at that point, I was, any lie I could think of, I was trying to think of. And I had nothing. I said, okay, I had 6 prostitutes in the house and their pimp, and they robbed us. What are you going to say? I couldn't even think of a lie. They robbed us. They robbed her. But that's what I went through for that segment, which was a great segment. I found Beetlejuice's sister. No one knew that Beetlejuice had a sister with the same disease that he has. No one knew. I found this out using my reporting skills. I hunted her down. The mother and the sister definitely did not want to do the show. Absolutely refused. I had to I had 2 days to talk them into coming on the air. Even if you watch the show, even when we were on the air, they changed their mind and said, I'm not doing it. And I had to run out of the studio and talk to the little girl and beg her to come on and win her over to get her to come in. It's one of the biggest Stern moments, I think, in Stern history. The day Beetlejuice's sister came in, and she's exactly like him. We'll never see that again. I did that. There were so many things that week. And then the interview with Howard, which, you know, after that tear fest where I broke down and cried, you know, I didn't do it on purpose, but it benefited me because Howard felt so bad and was so sorry for me that he literally did one of the best interviews of his life. He never talked about his divorce with a reporter up till then. He never spoke about many of the things that he spoke about on an interview, which you can see on YouTube. It was a great interview. I was able to pull that off on live radio and get Howard all the questions I think fans wanted to know from Howard at that point in his career. I got to ask and got an honest, not a joke or a shtick. I got an honest answer from him, and I think a lot of fans appreciated it. So I had a great week, but it was brutal. Howard was never going to hire me, although he said later on he was. He said once I pissed him off and we had our falling out, he said, you know, and I was going to hire that guy, and I had a job waiting for him at Sirius. He doesn't know he blew it. Yeah, that's what he said after the fact. But in many ways, I'm glad. If that was the case, I'm glad I didn't take it. I'm glad I'm not on the Stern Show anymore. I am.
Let's get to that part then, the falling out, because there's a lot of other things I want to ask you about. But that was the big one. I guess I'll let you just talk about it. So, SEC probe, right?
It got my name banned for life and got me banned. And which, by the way, the fact that my name is not allowed to be mentioned on Howard Stern Show, I think is the greatest thing in the world. How awesome is that? The greatest radio show in the history of broadcasting, and I have the honor of my name being officially banned from being said on the air. That, to me, that means something. That's like a trophy. That's like a giant trophy in the middle of my living room. That's like an Academy Award for me.
Let me think here. Stuttering John, maybe AJ Benza. There's not many, right?
AJ Benza can be mentioned. I think AJ Benza can't. No, maybe not now. He can't. John definitely can't be mentioned. I can't be mentioned.
Artie, I guess.
Pat Cooper can't be mentioned. Artie can't be mentioned. And what the comedian? What's his name?
Ron Zimmerman. Ron Zimmerman. Ron Zimmerman. I'm trying to think of the no.
Who did the duck commercials?
Gilbert. Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried. Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried can't be mentioned. There's a few of us that can never be, but it's a very very small group.
No, wait a minute. Let me ask you that. What the Gilbert? I don't understand what happened there. I know that he got in a lot of trouble for the duck thing, but is that it? Is that the reason?
Gilbert can't be mentioned because when Howard refused to have him on anymore, Gary told Gilbert off the air that we moved away from your type of guest. We no longer do that anymore. And Gilbert started talking about it publicly, how funny that was to him, that he was no longer the type of guest appropriate for the Howard Stern Show. And you don't do that's the same as shooting yourself in the head. Anything that you make public that happened behind the scenes will get you a lifetime ban from the show. And there's been a few of us that have opened our mouths and have spoken. So you got to realize, guys like Gilbert and me, we didn't work for the show. We didn't sign anything. We not talking about Howard Stern is not going to hurt our careers. It's not going to, like a guy like Ganji or Doug. I watched your interviews with them, and you can see the pain in their face. They wanna open up. They can't. If they have careers in TV, and they want to keep their careers in TV. Howard's a very powerful man, and you got to be so careful what you say. Those guys have to be extremely careful what they say. I don't owe anybody anything. I don't have to watch anything I say. That became the most dangerous thing to Howard, is that I knew too much. I was involved too much in the show with nothing to lose. And to Howard, I was like a nuclear bomb. And that is, to your point, is what led to me being banned. That bomb went off one day on him. And he never recovered from it.
So it was you there the day, and this is what I read, but I kind of remember. You were there the day that the Sirius deal was announced, or you were privy to it.
Yeah.
And so people were saying, oh, he knew, but no one knew, right?
Well, this is what happened. Going back to what I said earlier, that I was getting side gigs from being associated with the show. I was getting a lot of TV work. ABC News, this is the early days of the internet, when news shows were experimenting with bringing their news online instead of just TV. So ABC was experimenting doing an ABC online broadcast. And this is like 2004. And I had a segment called Tattletales with the reporter Gigi Stone, where I actually sat in the ABC News nightly news desk where Diane Sawyer and Peter Jennings would sit. I sat in that same chair in this big empty room with a camera on me, talking about celebrity news. It was mind-blowing. It was surreal. And at the end of one segment, Gigi Stone said to me, well, you're friends with Howard. What do you think he's going to do when his contract runs out with terrestrial radio? And I said, well, listen, I don't know. No one knows. But if I was going to bet, I would say he's not going to XM radio because his competitors, Opie and Anthony, are there. And I don't think he's going to sign up with terrestrial radio again. I would say he's going to Sirius. I think Sirius is going to hire Howard Stern. I would bet the farm on it. That was the end of the segment. Well, a few months later, just by coincidence, I'm in the studio with Howard. I'm sitting on the couch. And he goes, stop the show. Robin, stop. I want to make an announcement. And everything stops. And he goes, I've decided what I'm going to do, and drum roll and all that stuff, because I'm going to Sirius Satellite Radio. I'm there by coincidence. Well, a few weeks later, I get a call at my office, and a guy says, I'm from the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. We want you to come in and talk about what we believe could be insider trading involving Howard Stern. And I said, fuck you, Sal, and I hung up the phone. They called back. I said, it's not funny. I said, I didn't fall for it. It was a good try. Fuck you. Hang up. Well, the next day I get a FedEx package with a subpoena to appear in front of the Securities Exchange Commission in regards to insider trading regarding Howard Stern, myself, and Sirius Satellite Radio. I'm like, this can't be real. It's a FedEx package. They don't give you subpoenas in a FedEx package. They're really trying to get me. They're trying. So I call the show. Gary doesn't even talk to me. Jason laughs and goes, no way, is that real? He goes, no way. And he laughs it off. I said, okay, I agree. But I just said to myself, let me, I have a buddy who's the editor of the business section of New York Post. I'm going to ask him if this is real. I know it's not, but for my own peace of mind. So he says, oh yeah, let me look at it. Fax it over. So I fax it over. He doesn't call me back. Now, it's a Friday, and Howard Stern went on vacation that day for one of his notorious weeks off. So it's a Friday. The guy doesn't call me back. I assume it's not real, otherwise he would have called me right away. Lo and behold, the next day, I go to Dunkin' Donuts, and right there in front of the store, in the front cover of the New York Post, is my subpoena and Howard Stern's face. Chauncey is bringing down Howard Stern. Howard Stern's going to jail. Thanks, Chauncey, in big letters. And within an hour, I have every news truck in the country in front of my house with satellite dishes. Now remember, Martha Stewart had just gone to jail for something similar. So now they think they got Howard. And I'm the guy that's going to bring him to put him in prison. I couldn't believe it. I don't even own stock. It was so insane. And Howard's on St. Bart's on a beach. You imagine him on a beach with his long, pale legs and his sunglasses with Beth, and he gets the call. Howard, are you sitting down? You can imagine that's the call he got from Don Buchwald. And now, I don't know what to do. I have all these lawyers, attorneys calling me going, they can really put you in jail. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, if you don't answer the question right, they can put you in jail. So I retained this high-powered lawyer in New York. And he said, look, talk to the Wall Street Journal. Do one interview with them and do one interview with Fox News, Neil Cavuto. And then that's it. Don't talk to anyone. Just let everybody know this is bull. You don't even have stock. Just get it out there. And then when you go in front of the commission, just say, I don't recall to every answer. Say, I don't recall. I don't recall. They can't put you in jail if you didn't recall. So no matter what, they ask you your name, say, I don't recall. Something out of a movie. So I talk to the Wall Street Journal. Now, every media outlet in the world, Spain, Russia, China, blah, 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 blah. Chaunce Hayden, Howard Stern, blah, 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 blah. Chaunce Hayden, Howard Stern, all over the world. And Neil Cavuto, an hour. He did 1 hour of just talking to me about this. When was the last time that happened on cable news? The exclusive interview with Chaunce Hayden regarding the Howard Stern scandal. This all happens during the course of a week with Howard's on vacation. And you could imagine the day he came back that Monday. First thing he said, so our friend Chauncey was on a press tour this whole week. And I called in, I said, Howard, let me explain. And he said, you don't have to explain anything. Goodbye. And he hung up. And that was that. I was dead. I was dead. About a year later, maybe not even a year, a few months later, I was at a party with Kelly Ripa from Regis and Kelly. I was at a party with her and Dan Aykroyd, and Howard was invited. A private party, this little gathering at this basement bar in the city. It's like 12 people there, and me, Howard, and Beth are there in this little room. And Beth goes, talk to him. She goes, talk to him. I'll talk to you. I said, no, he hates me. She goes, he doesn't hate you. He doesn't hate you. Go talk to him. So I go up to him, and I go to shake his hand, and he has a glove on, like Michael Jackson. And I shake his hand, and he gives me that limp fish kind of shake with a glove. And I said, Howard, look. He goes, Chauncey, all's forgiven. I know you didn't do anything wrong. He goes, I probably could have handled it a little better. He goes, it's all good. It's all good. We'll talk during the week. It's all good, dude. Don't worry. And Beth goes like this, gives me a thumb up. And I go, yeah. And I'm going home like, yes, I fixed this. Well, someone at the party, and I swear to God, I didn't do this. The next day in page 6, Howard Stern at this party wearing a glove like Michael Jackson shakes hands like a dead fish. It wasn't me. Howard goes, so I gave Chauncey another chance. And what does he do? He puts this article in the New York Post, page 6. It wasn't me. But that was it. That was it. I was done. He swears that was me. And it wasn't. But it was done.
No contact since, I guess, right?
Only hate stuff. Only hate. Because then I was asked to go on. I was still doing a lot of cable news, a lot of TV shows, and Neil Cavuto once again asked me to come on to talk about Howard going on Sirius. Right, I think it was the week he was going on. What can fans expect as a Stern expert? I'm Chaunce Hayden, Stern expert. What does that even mean? You're a Stern expert. Well, anyone listens to the show is a Stern expert, right?
I gotta get on Neil's show, I guess.
Yeah. But they had to give a title to it. They brought me on because I had the connection from the Sirius scandal. So I was an obvious choice because no one else from the show was going to go on Neil Cavuto. They're not allowed. So they probably went through the whole Rolodex, this much until they got to me. So I go on Neil Cavuto, and I know I'm pissed off at Howard because totally turned his back to me. And I'm still going through that divorce stage, which every ex-Stern guy goes through. It takes longer for some than others. Some it takes years. Some never get over it. Some it takes months. everyone has that time period it takes you to get back to yourself again. And I wasn't there yet. I was still angry. So I go on and go, oh, what's this? This big fist in the air. It's like a Nazi. I go, first of all, he's going to have commercials. It's total bull that he says he's not having commercials. He is going to be censored. Everyone's going to be more censored than ever before. You know, he's going to change his personality. He's not going to be a shock jock anymore. He's going to go on and he's going to start doing regular A-list interviews. And he's going to use the show to change his whole persona. They're selling you a bill of goods. That's a lie. You're not going to get an even more outrageous Howard Stern. You're going to get a more reserved, different Howard Stern. This is his opportunity to become something different. I said that the week he signed on, the week he went on the air. I don't want to brag, but I think many people would agree that I was right. Well, Howard went off. Howard was so mad by that and so angry. He did a whole morning on it and then demanded Fox News give him an hour the next day to be on the air on the same show to trash me. Howard said, I'm Chauncey from a free giveaway Penny Saver magazine. Howard went on Neil Cavuto for an hour the very next day to call me the Beetlejuice of journalism. He was that angry. I found a way to get under his skin like no one ever has before. And when you were talking, we started off like, how did you become the villain? You know, you didn't choose. Well, I think at that point I really became the villain. I wasn't on the show anymore, but I was totally. It was like a show of superheroes, and one of the superheroes changed and became one of the enemy. You know, evil powers. I started using my good powers for evil, and I kind of enjoyed the role because it was so easy to do. It was so easy at that point for me to tweak him. And anything that he did, I still had the influence to be in all the newspapers anytime I wanted. So when Gary's, I think it was Gary's mom died, rest in peace, no disrespect to Gary, but when Howard said that Beth broke her ankle going down the stairs on the way to the funeral, and couldn't make it. I'm sure that was true. I don't know if it was a lie. But I said, all right, this is too easy. So, my type it up, you know, Beth apparently has very weak ankles, especially when people die. You know, whenever someone dies, Beth's ankles seem to break. And it was all in all the papers the next day. Howard went crazy. Anything he did, I could put my opinion into the papers, and the papers would print my name and something bad about Howard. It was too easy. And since I wasn't on the show anymore, like I couldn't do that when I was on the show, but now it was still my connection to getting media attention, and at the same time getting even at Howard Stern for what I felt was a nasty divorce. That's the story.
Evil, but fun. That's bad. That's an interesting way that you put it. I can see that. I was gonna say you're just making up stories, but no, there's a grain of truth.
It was opinions. You know, it was just my. Well, isn't that what the news has become? Is anything true anymore? The news has become opinions. What I was doing was my opinion. When you turn on the news, you're listening to people's opinions. It's no longer about, you know, fact checking and making sure everything's correct before you put it out there. No one does that. The news is too quick. It's too fast. You got to get it out there within seconds. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's your opinion. Well, I was doing that all the way back then. I wasn't saying, I was a gossip reporter. What's the definition of gossip? Not proven. You know, no evidence. That's what gossip is. That's what I was. I wasn't Walter Cronkite, you know, giving the world the world news. I was Chauncey, giving my opinions that I thought were funny, and the newspapers were running with it, like everything I said was the word of God, and I wrote it like a wave. It was fun.
I'm curious because I didn't see the article, but going back a little bit, the protocols to dating Howard. Do you remember some of the steps that had to be taken there? That'd be interesting to hear.
Yes, yeah. It was with the black actress from Summit Beach. Uh, Fans will know it. You'll probably see comments underneath. A lot of fans will remember this. I, I don't know if it's on YouTube because they do a good job blocking my name out of YouTube for a lot of things. But uh, you couldn't walk in to the lobby with Howard. He had to walk in, and then it was a certain amount of time where you would get a message saying now you could come in, and you had to give. You were coming to see a different person than Howard. You had to give a fake name. And I'd have to go back. She might have told me the name. It was so long ago. I'd have to go back and watch. But you had to use this fake name. And then when you came in, there was like special knocks to get in the door. There was sections of the apartment. This is Howard Stern's apartment in Columbus Square in New York. You can imagine what this place is like. And she said there were wings. There were different wings of the apartment that you were allowed to be in. Other wings you weren't. And it was just her and Howard in the apartment. And Howard, we put on the stereo and the music selection. It was something out of a 1960s comedy dating movie where you could picture Howard playing the music and this beautiful young girl on the couch and Howard saying, you might have noticed my trophies and this is my award and this is, I wrote this book. I don't know if you've read it. And she said it was so weird and so kind of, she said cute. I think she used the word cute and creepy at the same time. Probably if he wasn't a multi-billionaire, it'd be more creepy than cute. But when you're Howard and you're that rich, there's a part of it that's cute as well. And then how he got her into the bedroom with the tour of the house. There was a tour, and it ends with the bedroom. That's the last section of the house that he shows you. And she thought that was interesting, that it's odd. Like, why even show me the bedroom? And he makes it the last thing that you see. And it's that moment of truth, where is this happening or not? But it's Howard, with all his vulnerabilities being exposed like that. It's just, you don't do it. You don't do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if she hasn't worked very much since then. Because he's vengeful.
So you've been around a long time. What's the deal with Ralph? Give me something there. Are they? It's just the oddest relationship I've ever seen.
Ralph and I both lived in Jersey City for a while together. Ralph hates me, and he hated me, but he hated me even when Howard liked me. He hated me. Ralph always hated me. And
Ralph is a true villain. See, that's a guy I can get behind being.
Howard did a contest once, right before I was banned. He did a contest. Who's hated more, Chaunce or Ralph? He did a whole thing about that, and I won. It was right before I got banned. The fans voted me more hated than Ralph. So you can imagine. But I think Ralph always saw me as a threat to his role on the show. Everyone has a role. And Ralph saw where I was going. I was getting a lot. I was on every day, every single day. And he could see how it liked me. He really liked me. That sounds a little gay, but he did. He liked me. And Ralph saw that as a threat to his airtime. And this is the show. And a lot of the guys that are on the show as staffers will show you, it's very backstabbing. It really is. It's a nasty place back there. And if you're a threat to someone on that show, it's ugly and it's dirty. And Ralph, I think, always saw me as that guy. He just didn't like me. Didn't like me. Didn't like the possibility that Howard I might become his friend. Drove Ralph crazy. But again, I exploited that. I exploited that with Ronnie. Ronnie was very easy to exploit and piss off. Ronnie was the easiest, because Ronnie hated me almost as much as Ralph. And I knew that Ronnie's Achilles heel were the strip clubs. So all I had to do was attack him from that angle, and he would come charging into the studio with his chest puffed, wanting to have a fist fight. And it was too easy. And then I knew I had a segment. It was gold. And Howard would go like this during the commercial. Give me the thumbs up. I go, I know. Like Howard loved it. He loved that I knew how to push everyone's button, where I would be that guy and not him. And Howard could say, well, Chauncey says, or, Chauncey's saying this about Fred. And it wasn't Howard saying it, Chauncey said it. Even the name Chauncey, it's like, fingers down a chalkboard. Well, Chauncey said it. And you could just see people getting so angry. And I loved it. I did. I loved it.
Well, I've grown to appreciate Ronnie's antics way more in his later years, I guess, because I guess I just didn't get. I just thought it was just a loud kind of New York guy, but that puppet is not even good enough character of him than the actual character. Like Fred can't even do it.
It's the genius of Howard. It's the genius of Howard, and he gets all my respect, and this is why he's so great, is that Howard has a gift at taking the most simplest people, plain average people that you wouldn't give the time of day to, and he finds that magic. He saw gold in Ronnie, in a cranky limo driver. Howard saw the gold in that, and he was right. He saw the gold in a guy like me. He saw the gold in Sal. He saw the gold in all the whack packers. If other people had that ability, they would have done it. No one would have ever have thought of it or done it. Howard did it. He doesn't do it anymore. You can't do it anymore. You can't exploit people like that anymore. You can't. You'd be off the air. But in those days, those magical years, the 90s and then up to the mid 2000s, magical, where we lived in a somewhat growing political correct world, but it wasn't to the point of Harvey Weinstein yet. In fact, it made it better to do it because the outrage that was wrong was there, but you could still do it. And only few could do it or were willing to do it, and only one could do it like Howard. So that's what made the show so massively great to listen to. To be so wrong, but at the same time, he made these people into something they never could have dreamed.
Well,
that they couldn't imagine.
Yeah, and this series of interviews, it's just started. I did Stuttering John and Casey when they were stand-up comedians coming through, and then I started thinking, well, Grillo's out there doing something. And just these names and just the stories they have, and then there's Doug and Ganji and Tim Sabian decided and all these people became characters. So it wasn't like, well, we'll have Tim Sabian on because he was the director of Howard's channels. No, he would come on the air, Howard would make fun of him, and that becomes part of the bit. And I'm just curious what it's like to be in charge and then have that, or be Mike Ganji, be there 25 years, and then basically gone. And Howard and Ganji's interview was so interesting to me because he said he looked to me as if I was a kid. He never thought of me as an adult. And I thought
that was so interesting. I watched that. That was a hell of an interview with him. I thought that was very telling and very honest of Ganji to admit that. And he's right. He's right. Well, look at me.
But I want to flip it because Howard made all of these people, including you, celebrities, and that's why I'm interested in them. So he has a very smart way. It was even like with Tom when Chiasano came on, which I was shocked that Tom would do this. So I was so happy. Yeah. But when I asked him, I said, "Why did you have to go in? You could have assigned someone to go in." And he said, "I'm kind of a ham. I liked it." It's like Walter White. At the end of the day, he liked being part of it.
Remember something. At that time period, the mailman, the police chief, the bartender, every single person in America was listening to that show. Anything you said, and I heard this on another one of your, I forget who said it, but it was so true. You're in this room, this intimate, quiet, comfortable room on this cushy couch, and there's Howard in front of you, and you're talking into this mic with a headset on, and it's hard to imagine that anything you do or say, that 25 million Americans are on the edge of their seat listening to. In what world, in what universe does a person have that audience? when I cried like a baby. Millions of Americans listened to me. They wouldn't go through the Lincoln Tunnel. People were pulling off the side of the road because they couldn't believe I was crying like a baby on the Howard Stern show. And then you go out, then you walk out of the studio and you go to get a sandwich at Subway and people go, oh my God, I heard that today. Or you do anything, anywhere. And people know who you are. Of course, I'm divorced now, but my wife was on a vacation in Greece with her girlfriends. And she was sitting at this beach bar talking to the bartender. And he's talking to them. And she said, well, my husband's, he's a journalist. He's a reporter. He goes, oh, would I know him? She goes, well, I don't know. Probably no. No, he does the Howard Stern show, but you wouldn't know him. He goes, not Chauncey. This is on a beach in Greece. So, this was the power of this show, and it was addicting. And how do you not get caught in? But there are many people who wouldn't now. Now, if you remember, if you watch Private Parts, there were people in those days that were involved with Howard that did not want to be on here. They didn't want to be mocked by him, or didn't want to be part of the joke. There were many people that you'll never know about, that you don't know about, that I don't know about, that didn't want to be a part of the joke. We only know the ones that do. There are a lot that didn't, and a lot of people that hate Howard for that. He was a bad guy. You had to really have a sense of humor to go in there into that battlefield and let him tear you apart. I remember doing the beauty pageant. I did a beauty pageant, me against Howard. Who was uglier, me or Howard? And we both, this is a guy, right, with all the money in the world, all the fame in the world, but he needs to prove to America that he's better looking than Chaunce Hayden. Think of that. Think of that topic, that subject. I'm Chauncey. I'm going home to mow my little lawn in Glen Rock, New Jersey. I work for a penny saver, but the next day I know I have to get up at 4 a.m. because the greatest radio personality in the world wants to prove to America he's better looking than me. Think of that, how insane that is. And there you go, into the studio where he has 3 judges that got off the street, and I'm in my underwear, and Howard's in his underwear, and we're standing there flexing. How does that happen? How do you not get addicted? For me, how do I not get addicted to that? Yeah. Hence, when it ends, it's like coming off of heroin. It's like coming off of a drug, and it can be very hard. And it was very hard for me. It was. It took me. I would say 2 years before I felt normal again. Before I felt I was somebody besides Chauncey from the Stern Show. Say 2 years.
I can understand that too, because I had a long-time job that I didn't want to do anymore. And after I left, I was like, man, I miss it. Why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that, because it was like, I always said, people thought, oh, you're baseball Brad. I used to work for the Cardinals, do stuff on their television network, and that's what I was known for. And like, this is what you're saying, but I felt like this was a fun chat. I really do. And I said to Chauncey before this, I said, listen, I don't like to throw bombs. If you want to, you can. But I don't think we did. I think we had a fun talk. We talked about Howard. Maybe
you were good. You remind me of Seth MacFarlane.
That's what I've heard.
Didn't I ever tell you that?
I've heard that.
You have a Seth MacFarlane way about you. The voice, the look, you'll have a career in broadcasting. I have none of the things that you have. I'm ugly. My voice is terrible. I wanted to be what you are.
Oh, please. This is a little podcast on YouTube. This is for fun.
Well, it's just great what you're doing. I think what you're doing with the Stern Show, I think a lot of people are going to listen to. I really do. I think it's a lot of questions Stern fans have, especially now that the smoke is clearing. Howard obviously has moved on. He's not that Howard anymore. And I think now that the fog is cleared, people want to know. They want to hear from guys like me and Ganji and all those guys. And there's a lot more of us out there that have a story to tell. That's interesting.
Well, my hope was that he was going to retire, because I was told by many folks there will be many stories to be told the day he retires. So I'll be around. I'll be around for that. But
Gary's the one. I guess Gary and Robin are the two, and Fred are the ones that have that book. But I don't think they'll ever write it. I don't think those guys will ever write it. They won't.
And I understand because they're living in mansions due to this guy. I mean, they take the beating, but they live in giant. I mean, this has been their life. You get shit on. It depends on if this is what you want to do your whole life. Now, Robin has been clearly not shit on. Fred, not as much lately, and maybe even Baba Booey finally is getting a little more respect. But for the first 30 years, it was not fun. But I think at one point, Gary drives home going, I'm driving home to a big house. This is what got me here. So, and I get that.
But here's the thing: if Howard died tomorrow, would one of them write that book? Do you think? I don't think so. I think if Howard dropped dead tomorrow, they still wouldn't write that book. That's what I think.
I think you're right. Was there anything that you wanted to cover before we go on some of the things we've talked about here? I like to give our guests the final word.
And probably the biggest story of all, probably what the longtime Stern fans remember me most of, is Debbie Tay. That was the girl. This is what Howard and I was sued for $10 million each, and it went to the Supreme Court. And to this day, it's studied at Harvard Law School for defamation. It's you can look it up on Google, and you have to actually take a course in this case. If you remember the Howard Stern beauty pageant, New Year's Eve beauty pageant, the girl that came in second was Debbie Tay, the space alien. Well, she became my girlfriend. We were very, very close, and she passed away. She died of a heroin overdose. And Howard couldn't believe it. No one could believe it. I was in total shock. And she was a big part of the show, very big part of the show back then. And Howard had heard I had her ashes and asked me to bring the ashes on the show. So you can actually hear the show on YouTube. It's actually on YouTube. I don't know how this got by the Stern censors, but it's there. And Howard opened up the box of ashes. And what I didn't know at the time, there were two ways to cremate somebody. You can pulverize somebody, which is when you see in movies, they throw the ashes into the air and they blow into the wind. The other way is not as expensive, but what you end up having are semi-pulverized portions of the body, basically chunks of bone. And I didn't even know it was in the box. I never opened it, didn't know. Howard brings the box on the air and opens it on live radio and begins to take out pieces of the box of Debbie. And when you read the transcript of the show, it's chilling. It's so bad. If you listen to the show, it's so bad. Howard, I can't believe it. What he was saying, what he did, I couldn't believe it was happening. The family of Debbie sued Infinity Broadcasting, CBS, myself, and Howard for $10 million each. It ended up going to the Supreme Court. And right before the day of the trial, it was settled out of court by Howard and his attorneys. But what the Supreme Court had to decide, what is the definition of defamation? And can you defame a corpse? And this became legal precedent. Can if someone's dead, can you embarrass them? Can you humiliate them? Can a family member or a friend say, I'm so hurt by that, I'm going to sue you? Do they have the right? And that's what's studied today in court. And what the Supreme Court ruled was, no, you can't defame someone that's not alive. And while it may be distasteful and a family member could be devastated by your actions, they don't have a legal right to sue for damages because there are no damages. And it was one of the most fascinating parts of the Howard Stern connection to me, I think, during my 20 years.
I feel terrible that I don't even know that story. I can't believe I don't know it, but thank you for telling it.
After the show, Google it, and you won't believe it. It was a very big story at the time. And if you and I'll end it with this. If you asked me if I had any other questions, I was sure that probably the only other question you could ask that I would like to end this on is, do I have any regrets? Do I regret anything? Because there's a lot of things over 20 years you do and say on that show. And I would say only that one thing is that the day I came in with the remains of Debbie K. If I could go back in time, I would not have done it. I'm embarrassed by it. And the person I am now is not the person I was then. And I'm humiliated by it, humiliated. I feel I disrespected Debbie, I disrespected the family, and I wish I didn't do it. Howard will never speak about it. Probably has done everything in his power to destroy it, but it's out there and it's on YouTube, and you can just Google it and watch it on YouTube. Very, very painful. Very painful for me to this day. And that's my only regret.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch that. I'm going to pass on that one. But that's, again, I feel, I feel terrible that I don't know that story, but I will look it up. And we can always do this again. So there's much more. I just covered just a little bit on my little sheet here of papers. So I
know there's so much, and you've been so great letting me just ramble.
No, we'll do this again. I promise. Yeah, if you're up for it, a couple months go by, we get a few more. I'll do a little more research. You come up with some things you want to tell me. You sent me some stuff right before this, and I didn't even really get to it.
The Donald Trump call, all that stuff.
We're gonna tease folks because again, I think Tim Sabian's been on twice now. I've got a few others that want to come back and do a little more. They had things. They're like, oh, I want to say that. I'm like, hey, I'm very happy that people are interested in these.
What you do, you have a great way about you. You're very good at this. You really are. I feel like I've been sitting on a couch more than I've been doing an interview. Well, so I appreciate you giving me time to ramble on.
In case people care, I just call these conversations, and this is my favorite thing to do of all the media things that I ever did. I traveled with the teams, and I love doing interviews. I love kind of getting questions and doing research and being able to talk to people like you and kind of hearing fun stories. And again, like I said, we didn't throw any firebombs today. We had some fun. So, Chaunce Hayden, thank you, and we'll be doing it again. We'll be doing it again. Thank you, Chauncey, and thank you for watching. Always subscribe, always comment. Keep those coming in. Share these with your friends. More of ththese coming in 2021. Thank you for watching.
I just say this. Please be kind with the comments. I know they're coming. I know the hate's coming. I'm a nice guy. Please be kind. I'm a daddy. I'm a dad.
He's reformed, folks. He's reformed, Chauncey. Reformed Chaunce Hayden. So be nice on the comments, but go ahead and leave some, and we'll see you next time.